Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them. I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site that'll have plot synopsis and character bios for the issue we're about to look at. So, we are continuing our reading order. We got Marvel graphic novel number 4. Look at this, 5.95 at that time. From 1982, which actually features the first appearance of the New Mutants. Now, I have a playlist. I have an X-Men playlist, and then I have an X-Universe playlist and a New Mutants playlist. This is, of course, the first issue of New Mutants that we're covering, so this will be the only issue on the New Mutants or the on the playlist. But all New Mutants will be added there. Also, will be added to the X Universe reading order. I also have an X-Men playlist that just covers the adventures of the X-Men on the Chris Claremont era. So you have different ways to look at this. Everything is done in reading order. So I post the videos as they come. Bob McLeod is the artist here. Chris Claremont is the writer. So this was supposed to be New Mutants 1 through 3, but Jim Shooter wanted a wanted an early jump start on it, so Claremont had to write this, plus then write another New Mutants issues 1 through 3. This takes place while the X-Men are in space. So everything, like I said, I am covering it in order. So this takes place immediately after Uncanny X-Men 165. So Xavier believes the X-Men to be dead on their adventures from the Brood. Another thing that I am going to be doing is I'm normally kind of read along, but as you know, Louise Jones is still the editor. Louise Jones, we of course now know as Louise Simonson, Walter Simonson's wife. Glynis Wein, who will become Glynis Oliver after her divorce from Len Wein, is the coloring. So this is all pretty much the X-Men except for Bob McLeod. I Everyone else is involved in the X-Men. So most of the time I kind of read along. I'm not going to be doing that. It just Claremont is very wordy, and this video is going to take me a crap load of time. If I just start reading along, we'll have over an hour video. So I'm going to do my very best to sort of narrate and see if we can get this done within 40 to 50 minutes, maybe. I don't know if I can get it done sooner, but I will give it a try. So the narration, of course, tells us we are in the Highlands of Scotland, and we see Moira McTaggart kind of being shocked by this wolf-like creature. Maybe it is a wolf, but of course, these are these comics are over 40 years old, so you probably already know who it is. I really do enjoy the color, much more different than the what was at that time newsprint. So I do like the color. You can definitely see a more paintable what would you say on the the page, this wasn't newsprint. This is probably more of what we have nowadays. Of course, we can see here that it is not a wolf, but some kind of a creature. So as the creature falls here, Moira goes to check on her, and she recognizes her as Ron Sinclair, whom she had helped deliver many years ago. So Moira apparently is the kind of doctor that does everything. She's researches, she's into genetics, she's delivers, she's I don't know, she's everything here. So we have the first appearance of Rain Sinclair, who we will know as Wolfsbane, and she will also make become a member of X Factor when Peter David takes over. So what was going on is Rain was being chased by this mob of religious fanatics here who believe this is the devil's work. So mutants, of course, Chris Claremont loves to do the trope that the X-Men are hated because they're mutants. Although when you look at it in the simple terms, how do they know what a mutant is in the Marvel universe when we have superheroes? But the X-Men are made to represent minority groups and people that are disenfranchised. So
this allows Moira to get rid of the mob and bring Rain to a safer place. Roberto da Costa, Sunspot. Roberto, a Brazilian living in Rio de Janeiro, is taking part in a soccer match, which is being watched by his dad, Emmanuel da Costa, and his girlfriend Juliana.
of course, in Brazil, well, in South America, soccer is quite the big, a bigger sport than the NFL football is here in the United States. And of course, we see his dad and girlfriend here watching the game here. And of course, we have Roberto da Costa, who we will know as Sunspot here. Of course, you can see these two kind of bully and hit him, which, by the way, that would draw a flag. But hey, it's comic books here, and so you see they call him a half breed. They don't know he's a mutant. It really has to do with, if you remember here, a black man with a white woman. So and of course, Roberto has a short fuse. However, in this case, it is actually, um, uh, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Appropriate. So you can see here, he jumps at the guy, but the guy is bigger and stronger. So, punches him here. Now, if you can see here, they're they're using his uh, they're using the racial barrier here. Your father's wealth can't change the color of your skin. So it is a racist, racially motivated. However, I just want to make a point here. I know Claremont is trying to make a point. However, in Brazil, most people are not white. So I don't know if that would necessarily work in Brazil, but I understand what the point that he is trying to make here. And so actually, when he was calling him half breed, it was to do with the color of his skin. It wasn't because the girl, because I don't think the girlfriend is his mother here. So you can see that the stress is causing Sunspot to uh, really turn, or to his mutant powers manifest here. And here you can see him throwing the bully off him here, and everybody is afraid of him, even his friends and coworkers. And he's like, "Father, Juliana, someone, help me!" So he is desperate here, and his dad is like, "My son, this cannot be. It is impossible." And so everybody is off, taking over and fleeing here. So, but the dad's girlfriend is actually going toward him, and you can see that she is actually loves him and goes to take care of him, and so she asks for help. But you can see here that they're being watched here, um, and here we see here someone speaking, and he says, "Fascinating. More mutants are appearing every day in more parts of the world, but no matter. Each time one appears, I will be there to destroy him." Now, you can see here, you can have an idea and a clue as to who this person is by just looking at the outfit here. So now we see in Kentucky here. These are miners going, and we've got a another teenager here, Sam Guthrie, who we will know as Cannonball. So this gentleman tells him they heard about his father having passed from black lung, which is something that miners get, and asks if it's okay with his mom. And he says she's doing the best she can. His dad had a pension, but with all the inflation, it doesn't pay the bills. And his mother's too proud to go to welfare here. This guy mentions that he's surprised to see Sam here because he had gotten a scholarship and was going to be the first to attend college. And he says he can't leave. His family needs him, and someone needs to provide for the rest of the family. And he says that, his dad's dream is good and it may not come true for him, but that he'll make sure one of his brothers and sisters do get to go to college. And so they're working. Claremont adds more exposition here, but then there is a cave in, and everybody is out. Of course, he sees Mr. Lewis, who's the foreman here, and Mr. Lewis says, "Get out." He's like, "I'm staying here." I mean, he's gonna try to help him, but of course, more stuff is gonna fall, and this adrenaline surge triggers his mutant powers, which of course he's immune while he's on flight, so nothing can hurt him. And so they go here. Part of the reason he goes by the name of Cannonball is he kind of shoots like a cannonball here, and off they go. And the foreman's just glad to be alive here. And Sam's like, "How the heck did I do that here?" And of course, we still see they're still being spied by the same person. Another one, much closer to home, splendid. A power such as his could be useful to me, and then, when he has served his purpose, he can follow young DaCosta into the grave. So, all right, here you can see the a map of Kentucky here. And now we are outside of Sundance, Colorado, and we see here our next person, Danielle Moonstar, who we will know as Mirage, and she's meditating, and we see this mountain lion, or cougar, as they are called, going toward her. Of course, it is a friendly one here. His name is Ridge Runner. So you can see here. And so he hears something and runs away here. And so it's her grandfather here. You can see she is happy to hear or to see him, and says they're gonna go for a talk. And she says, "Sounds serious." And he says, "The time has come for you to leave these mountains here." And he says here, "I have summoned a man, a teacher. You will go with him to learn how best to use the gifts given to you by the great spirits, your powers of the mind." And she says, "Why can't you teach me? Why do I have to go away? I'm an old man, and my knowledge and skill are nothing compared to his. He lives in New York. His name is Charles Xavier." To which she goes, "A white? You would send me to an Anglo? No, I won't do it. I won't go," she says. And so her anger, of course, um, triggers her powers here. She has a psychic ability to project images. In this case, she sees her grandfather being beaten to death here by someone, by something here. So um, Danielle apologizes, but she really can't sometimes control herself. And then her grandfather says, "This is why you need Xavier." Of course, she continues and says, "He's an enemy. All white men are enemies." And he says, "No, he was your father's best friend, Moonstar, his blood brother. He is family child, and you will obey him, and you as you would obey me or your father were he alive. Do I have to? I command it, Moonstar. Then, grandfather, I will obey." So, all right. Um, good rendering here. So, of course, we now can see who sorta is watching all this. How touching. It stirs the heart to see such noble savages. So, of course, he is known racist slash human supremacist Donald Pierce from the Hellfire Club. And so Pierce has a plan here. It says, "I couldn't have arranged things better myself when Xavier responds to the summons when he reaches the Rockies alone without his precious X-Men to protect him. I will strike." And he will kill him and the girl together. And then off panel, here is Tessa, who works for Sebastian Shaw. She's being held prisoner, it looks like it. And she says, "You're mad," as in crazy. And he says, "If I am, doesn't that place you in a most awkward and precarious position?" And she says, "The Hellfire won't let you get away with this." And he says, "Well, by the time they discover this, it will be too late. The club, its wealth, its power will be mine, and your beloved master Sebastian Shaw and the rest of his beauty clique will be no more than a memory." So he is absolutely, positively going out on his own. So it seems like he has left the Hellfire Club here, and we go back to Danny. So Danny wakes up and fears something is wrong with her grandfather, and off she goes on her horse here, and does find him, unfortunately, dead. So her vision does seem to have come true here. She's not gonna go to the authorities because they just figured he'd be a drunk who got hit and run in an accident here. But she knows something happened. And Danny, of course, says, "I will have vengeance." So Kid is pissed, and rightly so. Her grandfather was murdered. So now we are in New York again, in Xavier's mansion here, and we're gonna look at Karma, who is a Xian Koi Man. Now, her first appearance was actually Marvel Team Up 100, which I do have it on the X Universe playlist. So check it out. Um, and so he is doing some testing here. So here we have Rain Sinclair and Moira McTaggart as they're running these tests. And um, Charles says, "Don't be nervous, Shan." So I think that's how you pronounce it, Shan. The examination is nearly over. So Xavier says that she has a specific psionic talent, raw power, in its own way, rivals his own, and he would like a demonstration. She, of course, does not want to. I'll read this part here. Um, when I possess someone, I become them. Gradually, I become aware of their memories, feelings. I begin to think and behave like them. It goes against all I was taught and believe in. And Xavier says, "If you'd rather not." And she says, "I'd rather be normal without any superpowers at all. But since I'm cursed with this talent, I must learn to control it, lest it someday control me." And Moira says, if you need a guinea pig, Shan, I'm game. So Moira is volunteering to be taken over. So she takes over and says there'll be some initial discomfort, but it will soon pass. So you can see it was rather immediately. And Shan says, is this satisfactory, Professor? Um, and this, of course, freaks out poor Rain. And she's like, what have you done to Lady Moira? Leave her alone. And of course, she's like, Ron, I mean no harm. Real quick here, she's under complete control here. And Ron, of course, doesn't care, which is freaking Shan out. And uh, she goes, Professor, of course, Xavier telepathically tells Rain to stop. Return to human at once. Now, I used to think it was Ron, not Rain, when I was growing up. So if you hear me say Ron, I apologize. It's just when I was growing up, that's how I would say her name. Because, well, what did I know? So Rain says she was frightened and couldn't help herself. And she felt the professor's words in her brain. And of course, Xavier tells her that she spoke telepathically. And Shan is releasing McTaggart here. And so he asks her how she feels, and she says a little fuzzy, but other than that, okay, and asks what she missed. And Xavier's like, you don't remember? Fascinating. The sensors indicate a complete cessation of your higher brain functions. During the period Shan possessed you, in effect, you ceased to exist. Rain says she feels like she shouldn't be there, and you can see Shan pushing Xavier, and she's like, Xavier says, nonsense, child. I'm delighted Moira brought you to me, and that Reed sent Shan. So Shan goes ahead and kind of we get a bit of her origin, which by the way is covered in Marvel Team Up 100, which again is on the X Universe playlist. So check it out. It's also on the Spider-Man. I have a Spider-Man playlist, so it's also in there as well. So so like I said, I'm not gonna read that part since it's already covered here. Xavier says, all things considered, I think you've both done extremely well. And of course, Rain says, is the cause for rejoicing that we've mastered these gifts from Satan? So Rain is very religious because she was kind of taught that way. Her first, although this is her first actual appearance in Classic X Men, we get a little bit more exposition from her in Classic X Men. One of the earlier ones. I don't think it was number one, but perhaps a few of them later that Rain was actually raised by a very mean minister, we could say here. So Xavier tells her that her powers are not from the devil, but natural, no different than hands, heart, or brain. And like all such talents, they must be shaped and honed. So Shan says, I don't want to be like my brother. I would like to know how to do this, and if you could please teach me. And Xavier says, I cannot. And of course, he begins to talk to Moira telepathically here. She asks, are you afraid? And Xavier basically says, I'm tired of gathering people, children, of training them only for them to die. During this point, like I said, he believes the X-Men are dead. They are out in outer space fighting the Brood and Deathbird here. So Xavier says, I don't want that anymore here. Moira says, yeah, the X-Men died and will continue to die because that's the nature of their job. They're heroes. She says he didn't just start this just because there were evil mutants. This is essentially a chance to teach people how to use their powers. Xavier says he does want to help. The X-Men were family, and losing them is unbearable. And so to give up now would make their lives, their sacrifices, meaningless. So here we get a bit that the X-Men were kidnapped by the alien brood in 161. So Charles relents and says, all right, young ladies, I'll do what I can, and let's pray we've made the right decision. So he is going to teach them. Um, and so Rain says, "My lady, that's the doorbell." And I hear it, Rain, and stop calling me my lady. Then my name's Moira, and she's like, "Yes, my lady." Um, Rain feels uncomfortable because of she feels Moira is in a higher stature than her. So Shan says, "All this sounds wonderful, Professor, but I have a problem. I must care for my brother and sister between my job and your school. I shall have no time left for them." So she is still looking out for her siblings. Xavier says, "That's not a problem. I need someone to help me run the school now that I seem to be starting over again. You're bright, well educated, articulate, multilingual, a perfect choice. Your salary and benefits will be more than adequate, and you'll be able to work and study at the same time." And Shan accepts. And of course, the mailman rang the doorbell, which is weird since they normally don't do that. Not even back then. They went to the you had a box outside just like now. So that has not changed. So he reads it and he says that Black Eagle's granddaughter is evidently a mutant. He asks for my help urgently. Anyone for a trip out west. So they have arrived, and the grandfather is being buried. But moments later, we can see that we have a vision again. This time it's Vietnam, so this is gonna freak out Shan here. Then there's an explosion. So the explosion, of course, is real, and we have some kind of armored people here, and now they are chasing a Danny here. And she's trying to use her spirit forms, but it doesn't seem to be affecting them. The mountain lion is not going to have anything to do with it, but of course they toss him. And let's assume that he's just knocked unconscious. So, um, and you can see that they are going to grab Shan, or I'm sorry, uh, Danny here. So he says, "Don't worry. As soon as I get some altitude, I'll drop you and you can join the cat." And Shan takes over him, and Karma says, um, "Your day is done, villain. Your mind and body now belong to Karma." And he has him fire on his two friends here and tells Mirage not to be afraid. You're among friends. And um, she's gonna stun these two, making sure that they let the reader know that they're not killing them, and to remove the helmet so that he can use his powers to interrogate them. Of course, Danny is gonna take her vengeance here, and she's gonna use his most fearsome nightmare and shrivel his mind and soul. To which Xavier says no, and actually stopped her to her surprise. So Xavier introduces himself here to her. Xavier again offers to help and to train them, and she says, "Why should I trust you?" And then all of a sudden she goes, "Ugh!" And Shan says, "Professor, she's hurt here. She has a separated shoulder, so she's gonna put it back here." So she says here, "You owe me an explanation, Xavier." He says, "Consider it a payment of debt. I owe your father my life. The killers knew you. Are they your enemies too?" Of course, he tells them they work for Donald Pierce, who of course is from the Hellfire Club, and he's got the goal of exterminating mutant kind. And Xavier says they plan to kill Sunspot and Cannonball. Um, and here you can see Danny take out her knife here. And she says, "If you no more need for this butcher, let Black Eagle's war knife be buried into his craven heart." And Xavier says, "Please stop." And She says, "Release me. I have a right to my vengeance." And he says, "Leave them to police. Our testimony will be enough to get them convicted." Oh, if only that were true. But that's okay. It's a comic book. Danny says, "That's fine. She'll work with you. You want these men? They're yours. Pierce is mine." So we are now again back to Brazil here. And these police officers arrive here and says, "Nobody move. You're under arrest." And Maria's like, "What for? We haven't done anything wrong." And he just slaps her. So he's like, "You telephoned Senor Manuel da Costa regarding his son Roberto. Are you aware of an attempt yesterday to abduct the boy, or your subsequent disappearance of a young girl, a school friend, Juliana Sandoval?" "Of course not. We don't believe you, doctor. At headquarters, we will learn the truth." And so Danny says, "I'll stop them." And Shan says, "Don't let me." So, of course, he tries to possess the guy here. He has him put on the handcuffs, but they're not locked here. And she gets that look from Moira McTaggart that this is what she wants, so they can get to the bottom of it. And so as they're going down, he uses the other police officer to punch his guy. And now Shan says, "Run," and says, "What about Moira?" And she says, "Leave me. I'm the one the police want. It's the DaCosta boy who's in danger. Get to him before Pierce goons do. Help him and the girl." And they go, "We won't fail you." So they go out into the crowd here. And the partner has a gun out on the other partner, and he's confused as to what's going on. So here you can see Da Costa, Bobby or Roberto, kind of get out and escape. And she's like, "What's he up to?" And Shan says, "I don't know. Cerebro doesn't tell us that." So they're going to follow him and see what's going on here. So Roberto, in his native Portuguese, says, "I'm here alone, as you instructed." And the guy says, "Speak English, punk." And he says, "I fulfilled part of the bargain. Now release Juliana." And of course tosses him. It's like, "You're in no position to make demands. We'll do as we please with you and your cutie." So he says, that he's okay and that he's gonna get her home safe and sound. And she reminds him that he's only 14 and they're monsters. Of course, he says, "So am I." So Roberto thinks that this is for a ransom. He's like, "No, we're here for blood, yours to be precise." So it's, of course, they're part of the Hellfire Club here, type of foot soldiers here. But they're wearing red instead of the blue. And Roberto now changes. So he says, "Wait, something's happening." He's changing. "Don't stand around gawking, you clowns. Kill him." And then Sunspot says, "If anyone is to die, swine, it is you." And you can see he hits the floor. And this guy's like, "Who does he think he is, the Hulk?" As he punches this other guy in the gut here. And this guy says, "Not too bad, kiddo. You'd flatten a normal guy, but we ain't normal." And of course, he says, "We were once till a mutie named Wolverine cut us to ribbons, nearly killed us. Now we're part bionic, part man, part machine, super fast, agile, tough, and strong. And we hate muties." So, of course, these will be the future, the Reavers, which will show up um, around X-Men 230, I believe it is. So we still got quite ways to go before we get to that. And Sunspot says, "I've done nothing to you." And they say, "You exist. That's all it takes." And he goes, "You're madman." And he tries to pick this up. He's like, "Oof." And he realizes this piece of concrete is suddenly so heavy I can't even lift it. and he turns back into um human. And this guy's like, surprise, surprise, the hotshots run out of gas. And he's like, do with me as you will, but let Juliana go. I'd say yes, Meaty, considering it's your last request, but then I'd be lying. So, and you can see now that he is being possessed by karma. So she kind of lets him know that everything's going to be okay here, and shoots at his partners, and then creates a nightmare for them, which of course would be Wolverine. And here you guys like, Wolverine, it can't be. Pierce swore he was as good as dead. And so Wolverine is their biggest nightmare because he's the one that hurt them. So, and you can see Danny kind of disposes of the second person here. So they don't understand. She doesn't understand Portuguese. They don't understand English. She's like, help me take Roberto out. And he doesn't realize, and even says, punches her and says, no, Roberto, she isn't part of the gang. She's trying to save us. And then, of course, he's like, what have I done? And knocks her out here. And now, of course, he's like, what the heck? Because that caused her to release. And they tag out their guns here and they begin to shoot here. And Shan says, I'm hit. And she takes a bullet for Roberto. And that gets Mirage all angry. And again, here comes the Wolverine image here. And look at him here. Um, and Danny's like, holy cow, I didn't realize that my powers were so big. And Roberto's like, he deserved it. He killed Juliana. And then he realizes, no, I lied. I killed her. My arrogance, my stupidity. I thought with my power I could save her. Then no one would remember Roberto the monster. I would be a hero. Everything would be as it once was. So Shan lets him know that they're all mutants, not just him, because he feels like he's a freak. And that Xavier is going to teach him how to use the power, in which he says, I care nothing for teachers. I want the person responsible for this, the one who sent these men to destroy me. Whatever the cost, however long it takes, I will find him and make him pay. And then he says, we want him to. What say we join forces? So Xavier's in Kentucky with Rain. And we get a brief update that he had talked to Moira here, and suddenly he is attacked him. We can tell that this is Cannonball here, and that of course moves or crashes into the vehicle. He's unharmed because that's part of his power. And Rain turns into the wolf to be able to get away, and he takes out, or he takes Xavier out. And here Rain watches here. And so the other soldier says, nice work. Yeah, load up Baldy to the chopper. Mr. Pierce is looking forward to meeting him here. Sam, of course, says, I think there's another girl, and of course they're not too interested in it, and that they only detect Xavier. Sam's asks more questions, but this guy's like, none of your business, boy. You've got a steady job. It's a heck of a salary. You do as you're told, period. You understand? He's like, yep. And so off they go as Rain watches, and she howls. But she grabs the scent here and follows him, and you can see here this complex here, and we see kind of a partial switch again, and she leaps and leaps again here, avoiding the dogs here. And so off she goes here, and she looks down here and sees Xavier with Pierce, and Xavier is in some kind of gadget here. He introduces himself and lets him know that This device is a mind tap designed to inhibit his psi powers, but it also absorbs all of Xavier's data that he has, his knowledge and stuff. So, and he says the more he resists, the more his brain will suffer. The damage might even be uh, um, permanent. And he tells Tessa, "Don't fret. After Xavier, it will be your turn." And so telepathically here, he goes, um, he hears Danny, and he's like, "Who said that?" And she's like, "Moira was right. My psionic rapport with animals allow me to mind speak with Rain. It's Moonstar around. Reinforcements have arrived. Is a professor okay?" And so they're able to talk telepathically, and she says, "Oh, hurry, all of you! The Professor Xavier is in terrible danger. If we do not act now, it'll be too late here." And suddenly Sam shows up here, and he crashes. He still is not able to control his powers, and realizes now that the girl is also a wolf now. So, and they use their powers. Danny Mirage uses the powers to get that cave in, which freaks him out, and he flies out here, going through that wall here. And so out come the soldiers, and here comes Rain biting, and here's Roberto's hits that wall, and it explodes here. They go, "You must have hit something, uh, something behind the wall," and they make sure to tell us that they're not dead because their uniforms protected them. Shan says, "We're not killers," and Mirage says, "Speak for yourself." And I'll play by your rules until I find Pierce. After that, I make no guarantees. And Mirage says, "Rain, lead us to Xavier." So, and Cannonball says, "I'm sorry, folks, but Mr. Pierce, my boss. If you want him, you'll have to go through me. If you insist." And he just moves out of the way, and he hits the thing. Shan realizes that he must be a mutant with those powers, and begins to try to take over his mind. She can't seem to focus. She's too excited and scared, is not able to use. So she grabs the gun, and everybody kind of runs away. I like this one here. The guy kind of looking back. Um, so Roberto destroys whatever this equipment is here. And so Pierce says his kids are more formidable than he expected, but they're too late. He just needs a second to snap his neck. And he looks forward to it, but Rain comes through and bites him here, and he pushes her away. And of course, he's bionic, so um, hurls her toward Xavier here. And Mirage is like, "I'm gonna get you." And um, Pierce says, "An admirable attempt, but doomed from the start." You can see something hits her. "Like my man, I too am bionic, and among my myriad systems are defenses against all forms of psionic attack. I simply redirected your power back at you. I hope it hurts here." So Rain is not feeling well. She's hurt, and Xavier says, "Forgive me, child, for what I must demand of you. Rain, listen carefully. Do precisely as I say." And so here comes Sunspot here. "Murderer." Um, Xavier's like, "Excellent. Keep Pierce occupied here." And Xavier says, "Rain, move to the console behind me." And she's like, "I'll try, but I feel so weak here." So, and then of course Cannonball comes through because he has no idea that he's working for the bad guys here, but he still can't stop himself, and he hits the equipment here. Um, and Professor Xavier's trying to get her to bring that lever down here. Xavier feels bad because uh, the effort is making her injuries worse. It's killing her, but they have no chance if he can't get it. So, and now here comes Karma. She's gonna try to use her power, but he, of course, is able to electrocute him using his bionic. And Pierce says, "The girl's stunned, Guthrie. After you've dealt with the boy, get rid of them." And of course, Sam's like, "Why don't you turn them over to the sheriff?" And he's like, "Cretin, I want them killed." I love that word, cretin. Cannonball, of course, says no, and he takes out a gun and says, "Very well, Mutant." Says, "You chose to side with your own kind against your benefactor. You can share their fate." And he is going to use his power, but nothing happens. And Pierce says, "Poor boy, your power has a limit. You surpassed it. How sad." "What? I can't pull my trigger. Something's preventing me." And then he realizes, "Xavier, impossible. Your sight talent is no longer inhibited by your device," says Xavier. "You've proven your skill against children. Let's see how you fare against an adult." So they have a battle of wills, but Xavier wins. Uh, Sam asks, "What do you do?" And he tells him telepathically that he took over Pierce's functions, but made sure to tell him that it is something that he rarely resorts to. And you can see here he's making Pierce release them. So Rain is severely hurt. They got to get her to a hospital. And now Karma's possessed Pierce so that Xavier can let him go. And Xavier is calling for Moira to come help because she's apparently nearby here. Danny's like, Rain could be dead by then. And Xavier says, "No, Danny, I'm psionically conditioning, monitoring her conditions. Her injuries are serious, but if there is no undue delays, if luck with us, she could recover." Xavier wonders what to do with Donald Pierce, and Tessa says, "I have a solution, Charles. Leave him to me." So the Hellfire Club takes care of its own. Pierce has proven himself as great a threat to us as to you. I think you can safely assume you've heard the last of him. Oh, if only that was true. And then Sam says, "Pardon me, sir, but what should I do?" And Roberto's like, "Your boss went that way with the lady. Why don't you go with him?" So they leave poor Sam behind. Now, of course, we know that won't happen for very long, but they basically leave him. And so we are now to the epilogue. Only got 3 pages left, and I managed to keep this under an hour, which is it's still longer than I thought, but hey, he's looking at a picture of his beloved X-Men, and so he calls the kids here, and you can see them putting on their uniforms. We get a little bit of exposition on each of them, but of course, they're made out of unstable molecules, so they disappear when she turns into a wolf. So, and Danny is wearing her costume, but a little bit different here. And Xavier's like, "Explain yourself." And she's like, "I'm Cheyenne. No one will ever make me forget or abandon my heritage. I'm also an individual. You say we must wear these clothes. I will do as you ask, but in my own manner. If that bothers you, I can leave." And he says, "That won't be necessary." And so there's at the door, and of course it's Sam, and he wants to join. And so the girls accept him, but of course not Roberto. Eventually, he of course does, and here we are, the first of the New Mutants. or the first appearance of the New Mutants. So, Marvel graphic novel number 4, The New Mutants by Chris Claremont and Bob McLeod. Like and subscribe. I do thank you for listening. Goodbye.